Harry is being blackmailed by Meghan and Doria. His tyranny in court makes us certain of it. There is a whole lot going on behind this circus, and I have a lot of thoughts when it comes to those two, but if I really talked about my beliefs, people would think I was insane, and it would get buried under the coverage that Meghan and her PR team want to convince us of. Harry was targeted because he is easily manipulated, and to this day, he still does not understand what reality even is. I read about the courtroom testimony from the other day, and I couldn't help but wonder if the political ambitions that have been discussed in regard to Meghan and now Harry is not actually in the US, but instead in the UK. I did hear Lady C say something about that Harry and Meghan were getting ready for something political in an interview somewhere. I just don't remember exactly where I heard it. It's difficult to know what to believe when it comes to the media, but when I think about the way that Harry has acted since right from the beginning of their marriage, I do believe that obviously he is being blackmailed. What is he trying to imply in that article anyway? I mean, the article essentially suggests that Harry was implying that Meghan was being treated with subservience. And the very suggestion of that pisses me off because Meghan was welcomed by the public as Harry's wife, and the media loved her. That is a lot more than Catherine could say about what she experienced early on. Even the press, when it came to William and Catherine's wedding, was messed up by a lot of nasty comments about Pippa's bottom, which was just a normal, fit young body like millions of other bodies out there. You would have thought she was walking around looking like Kim Kardashian the way that people were talking about her. Well, the tide turned against Meghan, though, thanks to her own nasty behavior. But when Harry goes to court, he really goes to town. And who else ever thought to use the courtroom as a public arena to court a spectacle of attention and publicity, with the sole goal of building a greater following in his pursuit of trying to outshine his own father, the king? In fact, Harry is receiving special treatment by the court, because you or I would certainly have had our case thrown out if we failed to appear on the very first day of the hearing. And as for his bad behavior, you know what? We nobodies would be charged with contempt of court and we would be locked up. And the same would have happened to Meghan when she committed perjury if she had not married Harry. People often call Harry a new royal. He's emotionally literate, he's racially aware, he's woke, he's eco-friendly. Well, he claims to be eco-friendly. But anyway, he is nothing like the old royals. He is the metrosexual prince, I guess we could say. Occasionally, he even eats fast food, as we learned in Spare. Well, that's the image that he's trying to put out there, but I don't believe it. I have a question. If Harry really is so modern, if he really is just an escapee from the prison of aristocratic prejudice, then why in the world is he always throwing his weight around as a prince? Why is he always wagging a blue-blooded finger at the government, the media, even the commoners? Why does he come off as a lot more entitled than even his father the king? New royal, whatever. When I see Harry in action, whether he's raging against the tabloids or criticizing the Tory administration, I get a really scary vision of what it must have been like when the Brits lived under monarchs who had real power, when people had to suffer the arrogant decrees of people whose high standing derived entirely from their father's sperm. In fact, Harry embodies that pre-modern imperious style a lot more than any other member of his family. He is a tyrant. He's the only senior member of the firm who is deploying his princeliness to political ends. I mean, what? Was the Civil War fought for nothing? In my opinion, the most sickening thing in the phone hacking trial so far was the way that Harry went after the government. Let's forget about the supposed behavior of the Daily Mirror, the Sunday Mirror, and the People, all of which are accused by Harry of hacking his phone to get stories. No, it was Harry's own scolding of Rishi and company that upset me the most. Harry used his witness statement at the High Court to claim that both the media and the government are at rock bottom in the UK, that Britain is being judged globally by the state of the current administration. Democracy fails, Harry said, when the government and the papers get into bed in order to maintain, as Harry put it, the status quo. All right, first of all, if Harry thinks that we're going to listen to lectures on democracy from somebody whose public clout is a product of the medieval ideology of the royal bloodline, then he must be even crazier than I thought he was. And second, what in the world is he doing? Now, The Guardian says that Harry broke with royal protocol with his government attacks. All right, let's put it more plainly here. It is unacceptable for Harry to make these meddling statements. It is not his business to do so. Harry is not a typical citizen. He is the son of the king. He's fifth in line to the throne. I mean, come on. For Harry to now exploit his inherited royalty to criticize the chosen representatives of the UK is such a slap in the face to this nation's great historical struggle to control the power of monarchs and expand the power of the people. The king has got to do something. See, in my mind, Harry's got two simple choices. Either he can remain an HRH and keep his political views to himself, or he's going to lower himself to that of a commoner. He's going to become a normal, ordinary citizen, and he can say whatever he wants to say in that case. But then, of course, there is his fear of the tabloids. And this also reminds me of the despotic tendencies of royals in the old days, who absolutely hated the low-rent media and its rousing of the rabble. I think we can all agree that it's not a good thing to hack a person's phone, although we still don't even know how much merit there really is to Harry's claim that this was done to him on an industrial scale, as he put it, by the Mirror Group newspaper. But there is something very disturbing about Harry's one-man crusade to change the media as he's describing it. Because is that not what the old Star Chamber wanted to do? To change the media, to make it less radical, all in the name of the monarch? And isn't that also what George III tried to do when he issued a warrant for the arrest of that hero of press freedom, John Wilkes, after he criticized the king in his paper, The North Briton? Is it not what the royals were trying to do when they persecuted Daniel Isaac Eaton, the great 18th century radical journalist, who was prosecuted 8 times between 1793 and 1812, mostly for publishing seditious libels against the monarchy? I understand Harry probably didn't pay attention in history class, but if he would have, he would understand that the fight for freedom of the press in the UK was a fight for the right to make fun of the kings and princes. So every Brit out there who values this freedom needs to be disgusted when Harry is now asking who on earth is policing the newspapers, and that is what Harry asked this week. Who polices the press? Well, definitely not you, Harry. And Harry's hatred of the low press is also making him look like a complete snob. If you read his book Spare, you'll see what I see. In Spare, Harry says the truly scary part of the tabloid phenomenon is that some readers actually believe they're rubbish. Harry also wrote about people having stories drip-fed to them day by day, and they come to believe them without even being aware. Because according to Harry, you see, we're all a bunch of idiots who cannot make up our own minds about anything. And so Harry, since he's got that Windsor blood and he's so much better than us, he feels that he has a moral duty, as The Guardian puts it, to change the media. Harry is sticking his nose into affairs that are none of his business. And where's the pushback? Well, it looks like the left are just so anti-tabloid themselves that they're just cheering him on, instead of warning everybody about what can happen when royals use their unearned influence to try to go after the press, the people, and the government. The Guardian columnist Owen Jones wrote, Prince Harry roasts the British press. Well, just imagine if Owen had been around about 250 years ago. King George just totally owned John Wilkes, he may say. Harry, you have got to stop. Your rage at the media does not give you the right to try and silence it. I'm afraid that freedom of the press is a lot more important than your little hurt feelings. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.